Hi guys, and welcome to my channel Cricket Caviar. And today I have a very special guest from my college days. I would like all of you to welcome Karthik Mukamala. Karthik, how are you doing, man? How's everything?
Hey Shikhar, doing well. Thanks for having me on your show. Uh, yeah, I mean we're rekindling our debates from college days, I guess. With this, I'm really glad to be here.
So yeah, me and Karthik, Karthik was my college senior, and we had lot of heated arguments and debates at that time, and we hardly used to agree on anything. I hope it will be different now. So let's discuss something that is very close to our hearts. And Karthik and me, we have been following Indian cricket for a long time now. So it's almost been 3 decades, I think. I started in 1998, and you must have started earlier than me, I guess. Uh, so we consider ourselves like we have invested a lot in Indian cricket, and we consider ourselves as kind of a democratic process. As we have a democratic country, we kind of consider it as a right to voice our opinions, and we consider ourselves as experts. So what do you have to say, Karthik, about that?
Shikhar, I think the appropriate term would be fan experts. I
Hmm.
think we are self-proclaimed. We are actually first and foremost fans of Indian cricket, who are also self-proclaimed fan experts. So yeah, therein the term comes in, fan experts. I was just thinking about it. What would we call ourselves? We've spent
Hmm.
hours watching and following the game, and I think it's about time that we voice out our opinion and make this sort of a trend. I'm sure there are many people like us around India who might want to look at us and start voicing their opinion.
Definitely, and it's really fun to discuss these topics because we watch the game so closely and we follow it with such passion, and we really want uh, good things deep inside. We want good things to happen to the sports in general in India, and also to our cricket team. So today we have picked a topic which has created a lot of controversy, but is also a very important topic in the current life cycle that the Indian team is going through, and that is about the captaincy of Indian cricket. 6 to 7 months back, there was an uncertain time, there was a saga with BCCI, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, and it almost felt very ugly and out of place because we normally don't see. Uh, we used to think that it was a thing of the past, such kind of stories, no coherence between BCCI and the players. Karthik, I would just like to have your take on this. What do you think was the uh, issue there?
Yeah, I mean, I think as you rightly put it, Shikhar, it's unfortunate that at a time when Indian cricket was going right to the top, and is still, I believe, is still on its way to the top towards dominating world cricket. I think this whole captaincy saga sort of, uh, I think, pushed us back a little bit. I mean, we could discuss further in the program on why and how, and I'm sure you have some differing viewpoints as well. Uh,
Mhm.
but yes, this whole saga was uncalled for, if you ask me. The
I think,
the
Karthik,
way the team was being,
this is
yep.
where it all started. Like, would you agree with that? Like this moment where India were hammered to submission by Babar Azam and Rizwan, and the pathetic T20 World Cup that we had. Like we lost to Pakistan, then we lost to New Zealand, and we were on our way out. And we had a lot of expectations. And again, it was a marquee event, like a World Cup where our team could not deliver. Do you think it all started from here, or was it before this itself?
I believe, I mean, at least going by press reports and going by what happened, probably things started to unravel a little bit before, you know, this particular episode. Of course, this was sort of the, I would say this was the culmination of what we could notice in terms of you know, Indian cricket sort of being at crossroads, especially with Virat Kohli and BCCI. I think this sort of epitomizes as a whole, you know, the point when it started sort of going far downhill. However, I mean, I just like to put in one point here. I mean, we were all disappointed at India's performance at the T20 World Cup. There's no doubt about it. I think we underperformed. But that said, I think if you look at the whole tournament in the UAE, I think it was heavily skewed in favor of teams that were bowling first, as in that were chasing.
Exactly.
And in fact, the whole tournament, not a single game I remember. I think I don't remember the exact stadium. Was it Dubai? This one, especially in Dubai, I think not a single team that batted second lost a game, and that goes to show, you know, how much the games were tipped in favor of you know, teams batting.
Yes,
batting
I totally agree. Like Australia, if you see, they won all the tosses except one, and the toss which they lost that match to England. And apart from that, they won all the tosses. You know, even though they had a stiff target against Pakistan, 177. Somehow you have Matthew Wade finishing games and taking them over the line. Then in the final also, Mitchell Marsh playing a brilliant knock while chasing. So yeah, winning the toss and win the match and win the World Cup, I think that was the formula for that World Cup. And India were a bit unlucky with the toss, I guess, in both the matches. Yeah, but I think this was a big shock because we are so accustomed to winning against Pakistan in World Cup. So this definitely sent the shockwaves through the entire cricketing community or the entire nation, that we never thought we will lose such a badly, that by 10 wickets. I think Virat leaving the captaincy before the T20, deciding to leave the captaincy before the T20 World Cup, and the selectors thought ki. So I have some excerpts from the conversation. Like Virat says ki, so if you see the bold one here, there was no offense or hesitation. I was not told to relinquish T20 captaincy. Rather, it was taken as a progressive step in the right direction. Then the BCCI chief of selectors Chetan Sharma here says we requested Virat not to step down as T20 captain. There was no plan to change the T20, but he stepped down as T20, and selectors decided not to split limited overs captaincy, one white ball captain and one red ball captain. That is what BCCI took. And then Virat says it was actually a test selection committee meeting where he went to, and there he was informed that he was not going to be an ODI captain as well now. So this is just the except. So do you think there was a lack of proper coherence and communication between BCCI and the players? And what could be the reason? Like, we have Saurav Ganguly now, who is an ex-captain, and we used to believe that he will be the best to know what goes on in the dressing room and what. So that really came as a surprise to me, because Saurav Ganguly is someone who has gone through this phase with Greg Chappell, with Rahul Dravid, and again, history repeating itself here. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, you put it rightly. I think it was chaotic. This whole episode was uncalled for and chaotic. I don't think there was any coherence at all. And if you look at what was being said by Kohli, what was being, you know, said by the selection panel, Chetan Sharma, I think, I mean, I believe it will be a few years until we know exactly what happened. I think it's still a few years down the line. But just going by reports and coverage, and just what I felt, you know, during that time was, I think both parties were to blame here. Number one, I mean, Virat Kohli decided to step down from T20 captaincy. whether or not he was requested to carry on, you know, whether or not he was requested to carry on doesn't really matter. I think at the end of the day, if he decided to quit captaincy, I think it could have been handled behind closed doors. First of all, these sort of things don't make good news for fans. Secondly, even if the BCCI had some other approach, and rightly so, I think I agree with the BCCI that we should not have two white ball captains. That's something that I completely agree with. But then that should have been communicated well in advance and before a test selection meeting, where apparently it was told to Kohli very abruptly. And obviously for a captain of his stature, having done so much for Indian cricket, it definitely would have rubbed him down the wrong side, and that's what led to him eventually also stepping down from test captaincy, I feel, because I don't think he was being valued as a leader of the team, and he didn't want to take that mind space. He didn't want that to take mind space while he wants to focus on his game. So
Absolutely.
I think the BCCI handled it poorly. Virat maybe should have settled a few scores behind closed doors. So on both accounts, I don't think it was very well handled.
Absolutely. And I think another big factor into this Virat leaving the test captaincy, where I thought ki Virat deserved to be the test captain. Like he has done, this is one format where he has excelled beyond expectations in this format. But I think the series loss to South Africa, and especially the controversy with the super sport which happened, like there was something caught on the stump mic that Virat and Ashwin, they were alleging super sport of some conspiracy kind of thing. And that also could be one of the reasons, like I felt impacted his decision of resigning from test captaincy. But it came as a shock because I certainly expected, okay, T20, ODI, we have Rohit Sharma, we can manage. But test captaincy, Rohit Sharma has just, come into the test team 2 years back. It has not been like a lot of time Rohit Sharma has spent on in the whites. So that was one thing, like I felt it did not make sense to me.
Absolutely. I mean, no one in the right frame of mind would have expected such a thing to happen, that, okay, white ball captaincy is one whole thing. The aftermath of not winning any, decorated World Cup or ICC tournament, for several years. I think last tournament we won was in 2013. And it's almost been, 8-9 years since we've managed to win another. So I totally understand, irrespective of what happened, was not very pleasing. The overall decision of split captaincy with Virat maybe leading tests and Rohit Sharma showing a new direction in white ball was not that bad. But then I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think the spillover of that whole incident with BCCI is the only reason I see that Virat Kohli was not motivated enough to go forward and lead the test side, because he's got at least 5-6 years left in him, by modern cricketing standards, and nobody in the right mind with the record that he has, and we'll get to that a little bit, would have stepped down. I think it's a clear consequence of what happened. And you could see some of that frustration, like you rightly said, in the South Africa tour, So, yeah, I mean, certainly it's not totally uncalled for. And I think that's where you rightly said, now we don't have probably white ball. We have a few contenders. We'll discuss that in a bit. But for red ball captaincy, I think it's a completely new, sort of start of new era for us. I mean, Rohit being the only, Rohit, Ashwin, probably I could call as really senior players. Rohit hadn't cemented his place in that side for about 10-12 years before he
even like players like Pant, Pujara, Rahane, they have spent more time in the whites than Rohit. So it makes you question logic. So
Absolutely, and the names that you position that you just mentioned, Pant and Pujara. I mean Pujara and Rahane specifically. I think their position has been under threat in the last couple of years.
yes, exactly.
They haven't had the best run of form. India's middle order
Rahane would
hasn't
have
had
been
the
Rahane would have been the natural successor if he was in form. There is no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. I fully agree. I think Rahane showed his mettle in Australia when Virat wasn't there, and
yes,
Rahane had also showed his mettle, I think, in 2018 against Australia again in a
yes,
deciding test match in Dharamshala when Virat Kohli had to pull out because of shoulder niggle. So, yeah, fully agree. But yeah, I mean, now the situation that we're in, it's not going to be easy to pick the next test successor, although Rohit Sharma has been earmarked as the next captain. To take this forward, I think it's going to take a lot of effort from Rohit to rally the boys and sort of improve on what Virat has done.
Yeah. So Karthik, let's look at some of the numbers. So I'll start with T20 because that's where the whole story started. Coming to T20, we have had, around 7 or 8 captains captaining for India, and Virat Kohli 50 matches, 31, 16 lost. I think that's a good. That's not a bad record. Like Dhoni is obviously like 41 won and 28 lost. That is 60%. But Virat's record is also like quite comprehensive in this format. So what do you have to say? Like 64% win record. Probably the knockout, is that the only factor? Because ODI also, if you see Virat Kohli here, 95 matches, 65 matches won, which is more than Dhoni. Obviously, Dhoni has played 200 matches as captain, so we can't really compare here neck to neck like we can for T20 because Dhoni has played captain 200 matches, but still Virat has a very decent record if you compare to Dhoni or to Ganguly or to Dravid also. He has a very decent record. So was that the knockout, white ball knockout tournaments and the matches like the semi-final of 2019 World Cup, where Trent Bolt just ran through the top order, or a Shaheen Shah Afridi just running through the top order. So these moments, I think, what defined, Virat Kohli's white ball captaincy legacy, I feel.
Yes, absolutely. I fully agree with everything that you put out there. I think a lot of it is down to our performance in the knockouts in the big tournaments, because I think bilateral series we've done very well overall under Virat Kohli. I think we won in South Africa for the first time comprehensively. So when it comes to but then one thing I'd like to point out, right, when it comes to ODI as well as T20, the white ball game has evolved very fast. I mean, if you look at head-to-head records of, let's say, Dhoni and Kohli, like you put up ODIs here, it's not particularly different, although you can see a 10% difference.
Yeah.
Although you can see a 10% difference.
Yes. 10%, but you have to consider like Dhoni played a lot more, 200 matches and 95 matches. So that obviously also, I think the average will drop as you go on playing more. If you captain more matches, so probably.
Yeah, I mean, that is one, absolutely. But also you look at the span, 2007, 2018, 2007 was another sort of a transition period for India. And the kind of rules have changed a lot, in that period, as well as, if you look at Kohli taking over, let's say 2013, I mean, I'm not very sure. I think partially a few of those games he would have captained until 2018 before the Champions Trophy. But then a lot of them have come possibly after 2018.
Yes,
so if you look at absolutely. So I think for me, Virat Kohli's captaincy probably started off I think on a good note, the full-time captain. Started off on a good note. We reached the final of the ICC Champions Trophy. We lost to Pakistan, who were a better side on that day. I mean, if you just put through with bat or with ball, right? So, but then we reached the final, and then we lost another semi-final, and then we lost the T20 World Cup again. So, but that said, our knockout record from 2013 onwards, if you see, after we won that Champions Trophy under Kohli, has been quite poor. I mean, you look at the semi-final of the 2015 ODI World Cup, you look at the final of the 2014 T20 World Cup against Sri Lanka that we lost, 2016 T20 World Cup semi-final against West Indies.
Oh, Andre Russell.
So, yeah, so I wouldn't attribute knockout losses only to Virat Kohli. I mean, these were all under MS Dhoni. These were big losses. These were games that we
the top order's inability to handle swing, like you have a Trent Bolt or a Shaheen or Mohammad Amir in 2017 Champions Trophy. Just the ability to handle that fast swing. Okay, 2016. You can say Lendl Simmons played an extra. There also we had a no ball from Bumrah, and there are like so many factors. It's hard to pin down that to the captaincy and say it's Virat Kohli that could not manage the things. But coming to the test part now, we have to appreciate Virat's captaincy in tests, and he's clearly the #1 Indian test captain. If you see phenomenal record, 68 matches played, 41 and just 11 losses, 17 draws and 11 losses. That is the fewest number of losses apart from Rahul Dravid, who captained only 25 matches. That's the fewest number of losses. And what would be your takeaway from Virat's test captaincy? I think he reignited the culture of test cricket in India. He brought the fast bowlers in, and there was so much excitement towards test cricket. There was so much energy going into test cricket, which we thought was a fading format kind of thing. But what is your take on that?
Yes, I mean, this has been said a lot, and I can only echo what has already been said. Is Virat Kohli has been the flag bearer of test cricket, not only in India but also globally. You look at when India tours other countries, the kind of passion that he brings to the white ball to the red ball format is something that is infectious, and you could see that with the way the team has played in red ball cricket. I think this is where I think he holds his strongest legacy. Also, not just as test captain, but just the kind of culture that he's brought on. I remember the first game that he captained, Adelaide Test match, MS Dhoni not being there, going for that run chase, right? I mean, we were about 240 odd for 1 or 2, if I'm not wrong. A couple of wickets down, Murli Vijay and Virat Kohli stitching that great partnership. We could have easily pulled the shutters down and just come out of that game, drawing that game. But Virat Kohli went for that total, went to go and win. And that, although we lost that game on a 5th-day track that was turning ranks, I think that started off the whole, that epitomizes Virat Kohli, the captain, till date. And many such games that I can remember where we would not have gone to win, we were trying to win at least. And that philosophy of trying to win, that philosophy of team first. I mean, I remember, Shikhar, you can tell me, last 2 decades, right? Do you remember times when we used to really look at individual achievements, right? Tendulkar, the best batsman in the world.
Exactly.
Or Dravid, the best batsman in the world in that.
Because we had nothing to be. We had nothing to be.
We had
proud
nothing to
about
talk about in terms of being a team. I mean, I wouldn't say nothing. I think they all played for the team as well, with all due respect.
Yes.
But then we didn't have that sort of pride of being the best in the world as a team. And therefore, we used to look for that pride in individual performances.
Yes, exactly.
In the late 90s, up until the late 2000s, if I'm not wrong, till Dhoni did take over. Dhoni changed that a little bit. we were more threatening under Dhoni as a side, and we won several ICC tournaments. We were world number one in Test cricket, all of that. But then Virat Kohli took this to another level. There is like, it doesn't matter how many hundreds I score, it doesn't matter at all. For me, the team comes first, and that's what he's shown in his performances.
And also, just Karthik, about the fast bowling revolution, like he was the one captain who understood that you cannot win abroad without fast bowlers, and he had the space quadrat with him, with Ishant, who was experienced but had a really poor test average overall, and he had a youngster in Bumrah who came in 2018, and he had someone like Shami, Umesh Yadav. So he used these bowlers really well. What's your take on that revolution of fast bowlers?
Yeah, I mean, this is another byproduct. This is another legacy that Virat will take home, right? I mean, when Dhoni was captain, you just look at his predecessor. India had won a lot of games at home, rightly so, with lot of spin talent. Jadeja, Ashwin, before that Harbhajan for a while. But then you look at our performances under Dhoni going overseas. I mean, we won in New Zealand, which is great. We had a good trio of fast bowlers there. We had Zair Khan, Ishant Sharma, Munaf Patel bowling against the wind, into the wind in New Zealand. Sort of helped us win that series. But then you go beyond New Zealand, I don't think we've done anything substantial abroad. We had lost to South Africa, to Australia, to England. Pretty bad losses. We lost at home to England in 2012. All of that perhaps because there's some criticism around Dhoni's handling of the faster bowlers. I don't think he trusted our pace attack to quite do the job when he went abroad, and that changed with Virat Kohli, right? I mean, even in home test matches, you look at Umesh Yadav's record in home test matches. It's incredible. It's only second probably, and can be compared only to Kapil Dev, who had a tremendous record, bowling at home. And that sort of confidence that he'd given these pacers in India also rubbed off on them when we went abroad. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. Shami, Bumrah are among the top fast bowlers India have ever produced, if you just go by statistics.
And both are averaging less than 27 in this space, which is like amazing. We hardly see. So Ishant was at one point, he was averaging 35 in Test cricket, and he brought it down to 31, which is like amazing in the later half of the career. And even he changed his length, his natural length, and even the bowlers, they wanted to win India games, and that charged everyone up, like the fielding unit. And India certainly believed that they can win abroad. We had a close shave in England, I think in 2018, where we could have won a few matches, but we lost. And hats off to Virat Kohli for nurturing this bowling attack throughout his Test captaincy era.
Absolutely. I think one more mention that has to be made here is of the coaching staff. That is Ravi Shastri as well as Bharat Arun. In terms of how they've molded this pace quartet, credit should go to Virat Kohli because he backed them to the hilt. But then the sort of improvement that you see in these bowlers, for example, Bumrah started off predominantly with his action. We would have never thought he would be able to take the ball away from right-hand batsman. But he's developed that outswinger beautifully. Ishant Sharma, like you pointed out, was bowling, just at a meter short of the length that he should be aiming for, and then for most of his career. And then suddenly there is this phase where he starts to pitch up. I think those sort of subtle corrections, subtle improvements in the game of Ishant Sharma and Bumrah, as I can see, can be attributed strongly to the coaching staff as well. And I think as a unit, the whole support staff, the captain, were all coherent. That's what showed in the space attack.
Just coming to the contenders now that Rohit is already 34, and obviously, he will be captain for a while. I'm guessing 2, 3 years or 4 years at max. But eventually, we will have to look at a new captain, and we have some contenders like. Obviously, I thought Rishabh Pant was a big favorite when Virat Kohli resigned, because I thought they may groom someone like a Graham Smith, or give them the charge early so that they get used to it. But obviously, they went to Rohit Sharma, which was a conventional choice, a conventional approach. Although Rohit has been in the test team only for 2 years. What are some of the other contenders that you see following Rohit Sharma? Like we have KL Rahul, we have Hardik Pandya. I'm not sure if he's going to be in the red ball action, so he's probably looking more at the white ball captaincy. But we also have Ashwin. We can have a Kumble Dhoni kind of split, which happened in 2008. So we could have Ashwin and Pandya, or we could have Pant and Pandya. So what are the possibilities that you are?
I think this is a really tough one, right? I mean, you look at all those four names. I mean, Ashwin, I'm going to take aside for a bit, because I think Rohit Sharma is now captain of the test side. Ashwin can be, I think, is his deputy, or can be his stand-in captain for the next few years. Ashwin's not getting any younger too. So we can discuss Ashwin a little bit later as an alternative to Rohit Sharma if he doesn't fare well in test cricket. But then you look at the white ball scheme of things, right? Rohit Sharma currently the captain, rightly so. He's been a talismanic figure in white ball cricket for India. I think the next in line to him could be either Pandya or Pant, right? The way I see. I think KL Rahul's captaincy has, at least in the last couple of years, whenever he's been given the opportunity, I mean, in the last year or so, more like it, I've seen him leave a lot to be desired as captain. Somehow doesn't exude that sort of confidence in terms of the way he marshals his resources, or in terms of the way he leads the side overall. Just the demeanor that he gives out. I can be proven wrong. He could completely change himself. You never know. But then I think Pant certainly, the sort of aggressive captain that we might want to be looking at, etc. But then again, with Rishabh Pant, it's very important to see whether we will be hampering his natural game, whether he will be able to play his game and create the same impact, when he's captain. That's my only concern. Hardik Pandya is an interesting choice, right? I mean, I like that choice a lot, although he's just emerged very recently in the last IPL. But you could see him literally mature in the last couple of years overall. Since that whole Karan Johar episode, if you remember, where he was trolled brutally by social media, fanatics. I think his whole approach to everything has had a more matured outlook.
Exemplary.
And I think that's only sort of you could see the result in the way he pulled through Gujarat Lions, or Gujarat Titans rather, in the recent IPL.
Karthik, I was coming to that. I mean, just want to, add some of my insights to their captaincy styles. I feel Rishabh Pant definitely is going to be the future captain, but I think he still has to understand that bowling changes. I have seen in a lot of occasions in IPL where he doesn't utilize the full quota of 4 overs for one of his main bowlers. Like, he did not utilize Rabada. He did not utilize, if you see the last match, he did not utilize Chahal. Probably he should have bowled him in the middle overs. He bowled him in the power play. And so I think he's still not getting the hang of that white ball, fast-paced captaincy, but he can be a very good test captain. I think I would go for Hardik Pandya as the T20 captain, just because he's the way he pulled Gujarat Titans, like everyone wrote them off. And it was sum of all parts, more than sum of all parts of Gujarat Titans that came onto the field, which was not there on the paper. And that paper to field conversion, I feel Hardik Pandya maximized. And it was not that the team was entirely dependent on him on every match. Like KL Rahul makes you think every time he steps on the field that the team is dependent on him to carry the team to the victory. But it was Hardik Pandya had some clutch performances, but he was not he was bringing the best out of his players, not just himself. And it was not just a Hardik Pandya show, but also a David Miller show, also a Rashid Khan show. So that's where I think that yeah.
I mean, the captaincy future of these two players, just as a final point, lies on two things, right, Shikhar? I mean, both Pandya and Pant, I think, have the pedigree to become long-term options. Pandya more in the white ball format, like you rightly said. But all depends on whether Pandya will be able to lend himself to bowl a substantial quota of overs. I think if he continues to work on his fitness and sort of removes that, suspicion around his participation as an all-rounder, I think he'll become a very strong candidate. Because he also batted, don't forget, he batted up the order for Gujarat Titans this year, given that he didn't have, traditional accumulators in his squad. And he took that role as well as the accelerator role wonderfully. Although he's played, little cameos. For Pant, it is more about two things for me. Number one, I think maturity in terms of reading the match situation and sort of curbing his natural instincts. I think that has to come. You can look at MS Dhoni, how he was when he started off as player, and then how he evolved when he became captain. I think Pant will have to make a Dhoni-esque sort of a change to his demeanor to be successful. And the second aspect about Pant is he going to be just as dangerous if he's captain? So it's a double-edged sword, right?
Exactly.
He's
Totally
a weapon for us, I believe. His style of play as wicketkeeper batsman at number 6 is a huge, is a huge strength to the Indian team. But only that he has to, sort of work on these couple of temperamental aspects.
So Karthik, I'll quickly move to our last theme, which we had is split captaincy. That is working everywhere else. Like we have Finch winning the T20 World Cup. We have Morgan winning the big trophy 2019 World Cup. We had Dean Elgar and Temba Bavuma are now proving to be successful. So why doesn't that work in India? Or why can it work? Can it work in India? That's one question I had.
Yeah, I think given the short time that we have, I'll just quickly make a comment. Traditionally, I agreed that it wouldn't be a good option for India because traditionally, I think the players sort of rally behind one leader. And if the core group across 3 formats is just one person, is the same, then that one leader makes a lot of sense. However, and that's what Dhoni alluded to earlier, but however, given the demands of the modern game, given the number of games that we're playing today, I think if you want to perform across all formats, it's not just the captain that needs to be split. I think teams have shown that they'll also have to have separate teams pretty much. And India is also moving in that direction. So I think because of the demands of the game changing, I don't think we should just rely on past experiences and we should try this.
Yeah.
So like you said,
it's time to try a new approach and maybe. Yeah. So split captaincy, that's quite a valid point from you, Karthik. Like we should definitely think about that, and maybe India needs to change their approach to this mindset that we have one prime minister, we need to have one cricket captain. Definitely, we have seen other nations succeeding, so we can go to a similar approach there.
Absolutely. I think success of other teams, is certainly showing that. Australia have been supremely successful, I believe. South Africa are doing well right now, even despite several of their senior players retiring. England have had this for a long time. I'm not so sure they have been the most successful though with this. There's a lot of debate around how deprioritization of Test cricket has hurt England or something like that. To follow some of the England, of the English sort of channels on the state of their cricket affairs. So it's a bit different, but I mean you see the same thing sort of being employed now by I believe Sri Lanka, I mean, almost every team that I think of, right,
Exactly.
has this split captaincy. West Indies, number of the teams. So I don't see any reason why India should just stick to ceremony.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we should explore this, especially given the fitness of Rohit Sharma, whether he'll be able to play all three formats regularly for the next 3-4 years. I think he's got a lot to prove on the fitness front. So yeah, we might be forced into a few captaincy changes, as we are already seeing, in the last few months.
Definitely. And now South Africa is also having some success with that. Probably only Pakistan with Babar Azam in all formats and New Zealand with Kane Williamson are the only two nations apart from India who are having a single captain for all formats. Yeah, so that's a great point, Karthik. Like with the amount of matches being played and IPL and everything, I think it will be great to also give a chance to someone who specializes in white ball, who can specialize himself in white ball, captaincy role. So if you take my personal opinion, I would say Pant for tests and Pandya maybe for because I have seen that Pant performance in test matches has been really good. I mean, he's been a standout performer in tests. Not so much. I think his game gets affected in T20 or one day a little bit, just like Sehwag. It used to happen with Sehwag. Sehwag has a phenomenal test record when compared to ODI or T20. So that's where I think Pant can stick to test cricket and Pandya would be a useful, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you're taking the line of Sunil Gavaskar. I think he was the one who first brought up this idea that, Pant should be a test captain. I mean, he should certainly be groomed as one of the, if not the test captain elect. I certainly believe that. While now that Rohit Sharma is now settling in, I'm presumably, I think we have at least 2 years to decide. And this year we don't have a lot of test cricket. We only have 3 test matches. One that postponed test against England, which is a very important one for India. Could be a historic one if you're able to get a result there. And then a couple of test matches at home to Sri Lanka. So, I think that we recently finished as well, right? If I'm not wrong. So
yes.
We don't have any more test cricket, I think, for the rest of this year. So I think it's the right time to sort of look at our white ball and set our white ball template this year. And then before we enter into next year, have some clarity around, who is going to deputize for Rohit Sharma.
Do you also have any hopes like we can have a Shreyas Iyer or a Jasprit Bumrah, captaining India in the future? Just because we are, openly discussing all kinds of possibilities. And Jasprit is now quite senior, 4 years into the international cricket. So by the time Rohit Sharma ends his career, I think he'll be, we'll have to see how fit he is. And, obviously there are question marks on Pandya's ability to bring that all-rounder game also. So probably Shreyas Iyer, who has, almost taken up that place of Rahane at number 5 with those innings against Sri Lanka in tough conditions. Can he be a contender also? So, just wanted to take your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, good point. I think it's still a little too early for Shreyas Iyer. I believe people are probably putting too much pressure on him at this stage. He's certainly one of the replacements for, Rahane. I'm not writing off Rahane just yet. I mean, you saw what happened with Pujara.
Yes.
When he went to the county circuit, I think he's almost certain to start our next test match against England.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never say never with players like Rahane as well. I think he's got a lot of pedigree, and if he puts his head down, I think he'll come back into the fold of things, and by default may also become, the next captain, in the running. However, when it comes to white ball and Shreyas Iyer, again, I believe the emergence of Surya Kumar Yadav as a dynamic middle order batsman, that can play sort of the anchor role as well as the aggressor role, has cast some aspersions on the future of Shreyas Iyer. I think he's still yet to cement his place, not so much because of his ability, but also because of the competition that is in Indian cricket right now. I don't see him straight away as a slot in number 4 for the World Cup or the T20 World Cup. That's simply because of Surya Kumar Yadav, his emergence. You see Dinesh Karthik coming through, coming back again. He never seems to go away. And then you have so many other players. I mean, IPL throws up 3-4 good names every year.
But by the way, I was thoroughly impressed by how Sanju Samson led Rajasthan Royals this season. Like just in his second season, he was also brilliant, handling Chahal and all the bowlers. He was not having an all-rounder option. Some other captains like KL Rahul, they had a plethora of bowling options, but with the limited options, the way he marshaled his troops, I thought Sanju Samson also showed a lot of. Although he's not in the Indian contention, I think he has a brilliant cricketing mind. And if he makes to the Indian team in the future, he will be someone whose advice will always be taken. I think the way he has led Rajasthan.
I think the T20 World Cup, don't yet write him off from being in Indian contention, because I think Rohit Sharma and the new, coaching staff, the new, the new dawn in Indian cricket with Rohit Sharma as well as Rahul Dravid, they certainly, I think, seem to put a lot of emphasis on the talent and ability of Samson, especially to succeed on those pitches in Australia, right? So given his hitting ability. So, I mean, there are so many names. I mean, you can't just single out 2 or 3 like we've done right now. Every year, new players keep coming up. I mean, you look at people like Rahul Tripathi, you look at people who've been performing consistently in that middle order, Nitish Rana, Rahul Tripathi. We've been hearing these names for 3-4 years now. So Shreyas Iyer, I think, coming back to your question, has still some way to go to cement his place, and then maybe look at captaincy aspirations.
So that was a great discussion, Karthik, and we'll conclude at that. And it will be interesting how things pan out in the future, and especially the next transition that is going to happen probably after Rohit Sharma decides to focus either on one format or he decides to leave, cricket. So that will be interesting to see, and we'll be there as always covering it. And so thanks, Karthik. Thanks for joining. It was really fun talking to you after so many days, and probably we'll have more discussions leading to the World Test Championship and the T20 World Cup. So guys, please subscribe and keep following our channel, and we'll have more content for you in the next coming weeks. Thank you, and that's goodbye from us. Bye, Karthik.
Thanks, Shikhar. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.